Hello everybody. As I mentioned in the last video, the purpose of today's video is to set up a better LaTeX development environment than we saw last time, which is using Vim and PDF LaTeX directly in the terminal. So what I'm going to do today is install the Emacs package. Now I thought about installing from the upstream Emacs development branch because the more recent versions of Emacs have some nice features that we could take advantage of. But just to make this as easy as possible for people who are new to this kind of thing, I'm going to install the Emacs package directly from the Ubuntu repositories. And hopefully that won't take too long. So Emacs comes with this really nice package called AUCTeX, spelled AUCTEX, as you might guess. And it has some really nice functionality. So let me go ahead and pull up another terminal. Now I did move our LaTeX document from yesterday into the documents directory. If we just spit out this main.tex file again, you'll remember that I was mentioning these things called macros, that I actually forgot to mention the arguments to these macros go in these curly braces. That might be kind of obvious, but just in case it wasn't, I wanted to point it out. And then there are these things called environments that are denoted by these begin and end blocks. So it would be really nice actually if we could get something to put those in for us. And that's one of the things that AUCTeX will do. So now that I have Emacs installed, let's go ahead and open Emacs on main.tex. Okay, so you'll see this the first time you open Emacs. And I'm not going to install too many packages this time. We're going to see how far we can get with just the normal LaTeX, or with the normal base Emacs. So the first thing I would do here is you can hit Control X1 to make this the only window. So that gets us down to our LaTeX document. And actually what I wanted to do here is start a new file, but I kind of got ahead of myself here. But let's go ahead, we can just delete all of this. And I want to show you, if we look down here, this is what's called the mode line. And it's telling us that we're actually in LaTeX mode. And it figured that out, again, just from the extension here. So in LaTeX mode, we can do some really handy things. We can hit Control-C, Control-N. So what I tried to do is hit the key binding, and this is another Emacs tip here. We can get some help by hitting Control-H and then another key. So in this case, I want to ask for help on a key binding, so I'll hit K, and I can hit Control-C, Control-M, which is supposed to run this command. Okay, yeah, so something obviously is going wrong. Now, I looked into this a second off camera, and I didn't realize that AUCTeX is actually not bundled with Emacs, at least Emacs 27, which is what we're running here. So we do actually need to install AUCTeX, and we can do that by running package install, and then just typing AUCTeX. So again, hopefully that won't take too long. I think it might come with more recent versions, or it may just be available in ELPA. In any case, you may have to type package install AUCTeX. Okay, now if I hit Control-C-M, it still doesn't work. We probably are going to have to revert this buffer. So I can type revert buffer. Yes. And that's something that Emacs calls just like refreshing the buffer. Now we are in LaTeX/P mode, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now, as I was saying, if I type Control-C, Control-M, it's going to insert a macro for me. And I can start typing document class. And now it's actually going to prompt me for what class I want to put in here. And it's defaulting to articles, so I can just go ahead and hit enter. In this case, let's go ahead and we can use a 12-point font. So that'll give you just an example of things that include options. So if a macro takes some options as well as an argument, you'll usually see it inside these square brackets here. I just realized I should probably zoom in a bit here. Hopefully you can see that better. So that's how we can use AUCTeX to insert macros. Now, some other macros I didn't talk about before, and we can use AUCTeX again for this. We can set the author of our document, and yeah, I'll just go ahead and put my name in here. There's one author. Now, something you might also want to include is a title, our example. Now, here's something else actually. There's actually a LaTeX macro. Now, this will print LaTeX out in a kind of fancy way, in the the official way that the logo is supposed to look. So that will give us our example LaTeX document. And now, another really, really nice feature of AUCTeX is that if I hit Control-C, Control-E, it will actually insert an environment for me. So you can still see over here, we have this begin and end document thing. We can do that kind of thing with AUCTeX very easily. If I just start typing document and hit tab, you'll see that it puts both of those pairs in for me. And again, I can type hello world and do that. Now, yet another nice thing about AUCTeX is that I can hit, instead of dropping back to my terminal, for example, like we did yesterday to run PDF LaTeX, I can just hit Control-C, Control-C, and Emacs will handle running LaTeX for me. So it ran PDF LaTeX to generate the PDF, and now if we hit it again, it defaults to this view command. Now this is not going to work right now, because we actually need to do a little bit of configuration to get this working. Now, before we do that configuration, we were doing so well we didn't have any Emacs packages yet besides AUCTeX, but we do need to customize the tech view program selection. Double check where our configuration file is going to be, and we can go ahead and look at this .d. We are going to be working in init.el. So this is the file that Emacs loads when it initializes. Okay, and the problem we're trying to take care of is that we don't know, it doesn't know about Zathura, our normal PDF viewer. So one thing we can do is just so that you guys can copy and paste my my config if you want. One thing we can say is unless package installed p. Oh, whoopsies. So Emacs has an unless construct, which is like if not, basically. Unless package installed p AUCTeX package install AUCTeX. Okay, good. And again, you can check the documentation of stuff like this. Return non-nil if package is installed. So if we evaluate that, AUCTeX is installed, so we don't have to install it. But if you guys pasted this into your config file and opened Emacs for the first time, then it would install AUCTeX for you. We may also need to actually require package as well. What? Obviously, I don't know how to do this very well. Okay, so that will make sure AUCTeX is installed if you guys want to use this directly. And more importantly, I think after that we need to say require tech. I used to think that this was require AUCTeX, but I don't think there's actually, we can start setting some things. And the important thing that we want to set is actually this thing called tech command master. If I do Control-HV, we can take a look at the value of this variable. Tech command. Oh, sorry, that's not. No. We want to look at tech view program selection. Okay, so this is a list here, an A list, which just means an association list. So it associates like key and value pairs basically, and it currently has associated output PDF with the events viewer. Now, events is actually a fine viewer, but I typically use Zathura, so I just want to show you how you can customize this to your liking. Now, in my case, what I usually do is I will push onto this list. Well, sorry, I'm looking over at my config that I use on my my personal machine. Now we're going to construct a list that contains output PDF and Zathura. Note the capital letter. That was another thing that confused me. And we're going to push that list onto the existing tech view program selection list. Okay, and so you'll see that that puts it at the front of the list. So when Emacs tries to look up, let's just kill that. When Emacs tries to look up what program to run, it will find Zathura first. Okay, and there we have it. Now, just to double check that this actually works, we can close Emacs and rerun that. And we just want to make sure that all of our packages load normally. Dismiss the startup screen. And now I can also close Zathura by just pressing Q. And as I mentioned before, you can run a single LaTeX command with Control-C, Control-C. But if you hit Control-C, Control-A, it will run all of the commands you need to prepare the PDF. So that includes alright, sorry for the trouble here. We just want to make sure. Why does it keep opening this? Okay, I just did a quick Google search, and if we open our .emacsd initl, we can add a variable called inhibit startup screen. We'll just put that at the beginning. So set q inhibit startup screen t. Okay, now let's try closing that. Look at this again. I'm just trying to figure out why this isn't. Oh, there we go. Okay, yes. One thing to watch out for, if you're using initl as your init file, sometimes the first time you run Emacs, it will create a .emacs directory, as you saw me messing with over here. If you just delete that Emacs .emacs file, which is another place for your config file, it will not create it again. So after that, it is actually reading our init file. Okay, now as you may notice, it didn't actually include our title because we need to actually run another macro, which we can insert with Control-C, Control-M again, and that's called make title. We can say yes to save, run LaTeX, and now you can see it also created our title. So with that, I think that is all I wanted to cover in this video. With just a few lines of configuration, we've basically got a really nice setup for Emacs.